We're super excited that you're here. Angie Redmond is in the back. She and I co-sponsor this event. If you remember, if you've ever been to this from Franklin, this was Top Floor Women in the elevator in Franklin on the square. So that's how it's got its name. And then Angie and I kind of took this from virtual back to try to find a home. And so now we've landed here and it's growing. So bring your friends and come and tell us what you would like to hear from speaker-wise. Today we're going to have Jill Howell, and we're really excited about that. Cindy Gardner has been our coffee sponsor for the month. So each month, if you look at registration, you can be a coffee sponsor, which means you get a few minutes to talk about your business. So as she's coming up, my company is Everyday Leaders. And so a lot of people say, but who's what? Like, I do a lot of stuff. But that's my company, Everyday Leaders. Angie's company is Strive HR, and we're happy to connect with you and help you with resources for your personal development, your business development, and anything else that we can help resource you with. So, Cindy, I'm going to turn it over to you, and thank you for sponsoring the coffee this morning.
Good morning, everyone. Cindy Gardner with Hightower Graphics. I'm excited to be able to stand in front of you for a few minutes this morning and tell you about my company. We are a 21-year-old print company located about 3 miles north of here off of Emerson Avenue, where we do all things print. Our executive offices are in that building. We do vehicle wraps, signs, banners. We just bought a new machine that prints the inside and outside of boxes, which is great for gift giving. We have 2 graphic artists on staff full-time. What am I forgetting? Oh, we have an apparel and promotional department where we create all kinds of great apparel for your clients or for your companies. And then in Franklin, we bought Falkenberg Printing about 2 years ago. That is a multi-generational company. A lot of our guys have worked there 45 plus years. So when I say that your print on paper is handled by experts, I mean that. It's hard to find a company where half of your staff is in their 70s and they've worked there since they were teens. So we've started seeing some of them retire, and we're a little nervous about that. But we do everything down there, from business cards to postcards to monthly mailers to a drip campaign or two. We do brochures, magazines, all the way up to periodicals. So if you need anything done, I would love to sit down and talk to you. Cindy Gardner, Hightower Graphics.
We all need you. All right. And I wanted to turn this mic over to Lila real quick because she's representing JP the Geek where we are. And so I wanted to give her a few minutes because she also has the email list for everybody that registers. So you may be hearing from her on email. So
thanks. Hi, everyone. So my name's Lila Carfa, and I'm the marketing manager here at JP the Geek. Am I holding it close enough? Okay, good. So I'm the marketing manager, and I just had a couple things I wanted to point out to you guys. So on everyone's seat, they have a sheet that has our upcoming events for February. So we are having a webinar, and we're also having a lunch and learn, which are both free. This is my first year as a marketing director, so planning these events has been a lot for me, and I would really appreciate some women to come and support me through this journey. I also have a sign-up sheet for today. Did everyone get a chance to open it or to sign it? Fill up? Yep. Okay, so I'm just going to set this here and we can... Yeah, we'll pass it around if you didn't get a chance to sign it. Everyone got a book? Have this. Our webinar is focused on the manufacturing industry. So if you have anyone who you know who would be interested in that, let them know. Thank you.
Good job. All right. And Angie, do you want to say a few minutes? Just a few words? Yes, of course you do.
Yes. Do you guys love Melanie's shirt? As soon as I came in, I was like, I love that shirt. I want to give you guys a sneak announcement of an event that's going to be happening here thanks to JP the Geek. If I'm not connected with you on LinkedIn, I'd love to get connected with you. But yesterday, I announced a workshop that I'm going to be hosting on the north side. And I'm a south side girl, so I know what it's like to have to drive from the south side all the way to the north side. So I'm going to repeat that event right here in this room on April 11th. The title of the workshop is called Decoding an Engagement. So what it's really based about is I'm going to teach you, if you have employee engagement data, and you don't have to do that through a survey. There's lots of other ways you can learn how your employees feel about working for you. But I'm going to teach you how to learn about it, how to act on it, and set strategies based on that. So that'll be April 11th right here in this room. It'll be in the morning. It's going to be 8 to 11. So as soon as the March workshop on the north side wraps up, I'll do some promos for that so people don't get confused on where the location is. And would love to have you all there.
All right. And Sherry Sullivan is not here yet, but she's coming. All right. So she and Katie Stahlhut from Stage 1 Dance Academy and I decided that we were going to do a Galentine's event. So it's Monday from 9 to 11 at Stage 1 Dance Academy. There's only 4 tickets left. So if you'd like to come, we might be able to squeeze a few more in. If you're interested, let me know. But you can go to topfloorwomen.org where you registered for this. Just scroll down, keep scrolling. There's stuff on there. And it'll tell you about the event. We're going to do crafts and fun and talk about Dance Every Journey, which helps seniors to stay in the movement, right? Also on the podcast today, I'm releasing Katie's interview, so check it out, everydayleaders.com. All right. And Jill, it's your turn.
All right.
Thank you very much for joining us, for being on the journey and helping us learn how to be healthy.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Is there anybody who did not put a business card in here? Because I'm going to do raffles at the end. If you just came, you can come up here and you can give it to this young lady who happens to be my daughter. Aww. She came from college to support her mama. She was, yes, she's very sweet. I'm going to take a breather for a sec. Wet my whistle. And this slide has been up there forever. How many of you have already read it? Because I'm not going to read it to you if you've already read it. Most of you have read it? Okay, I'm an emotional health coach. You could say, you could call me lots of things, actually. Hopefully nice things, though. I'm an emotional resilience coach. I am a somatic trauma recovery practitioner. I'm an EFT tapping practitioner. I am an embodiment and movement coach. So I have a lot of different hats that I wear because I believe that healing and wholeness comes from a holistic approach. I believe that it's integrative, and so I like to be equipped with a lot of modalities to help my clients. So, okay, I'm going to start off a little bit with my journey today, and this part is the part that I'm maybe the most nervous about, so I'm actually going to use notes for it because I'm 43 years old and I have had 43 years of craptastic events that would take 2 days, maybe 10 days, maybe 10 years to actually get through. And so I'm going to be very focused on my explanation of this stuff, and then I'll throw this aside and we'll be good. But this is a vulnerable part of how I became an emotional health coach in the last 3 to 4 years. I will just give you a little synopsis. I have had what I'd call like maybe 3 phases of life. I was an elementary and special ed teacher, and then I stayed at home with my daughter and homeschooled her for a bit. Then I started a photography business, so I've done that for 14 years, and I still do it. I actually do JP the Geek, their business, and I did JP the Geek is actually Jesse Pearson. He's the owner of that book, or who wrote it, the author of the book. I've done his wedding photos and his family photos. So I've done photography for 14 years, but I'm merging into this new industry because through my story, which I'm going to share in a second, I'm compelled. I can't help but to actually move into this emotional health sector. So I'm still doing photography, but that's not what I'm advertising today because this is really like my passion and what I feel called to help equip women with. Okay. So we're going to tell this story through the lens of starting with little Jill, okay? One of the things I'm trained in is somatic parts work, and it's about just all of the parts of who we are. And we've had lots of parts for however many days you've been alive. There's different parts of us that have shown up and that have existed and have felt a lot of different emotions and have had a lot of different experiences. So this is the journey of little Jill. Little Jill up here, this is actually me, my mom, and my brother. Little Jill was abandoned. She was rejected by her father. So I thought if I told it in third person, I wouldn't get emotional. Yes, Lily, yes. So little Jill had parents that divorced when she was a baby. And she was dysregulated, meaning that her body and her mind could not come to a state of regulation because there was crisis. Is that seat open back there? There's one seat, sweetie. Or not? Okay. Anyways, I believe that her nervous system was dysregulated from her mom's womb because her mom was in crisis when she was developing inside. So she grew up always feeling like she was too much, she was too sensitive, she didn't quite fit in the world. Her mom was a single mom working 2 to 3 jobs at a time. Her dad was a workaholic and completely uninvolved. And a little bit here and there throughout life, but there was no regularity to it. So she felt very rejected and abandoned and just not good enough. And then we moved to hide and repress. Around 6 to 8, this is when she learned to hide and repress her true emotions. She actually had a step-parent who taught her that she needed to go to the bathroom and take care of her emotions there and come out when she's not feeling them anymore, when she's better, okay? So none of her parents could emotionally engage in all of the big feelings that she had inside of her and all of the nervous system dysregulation that she had. And elementary school Jill started hiding in her closet when she had big feelings because she needed to hide and just felt like she was too much. And then we get middle school Jill, where she learned to self-protect. She had an older brother who liked to publicly humiliate her, and at home would actually, after school, he thought it was really funny to hit her. And he didn't do it in a, I want to hurt you, beat you up in a mean, angry way, but he over-dominated her. And her mom stood by silent and didn't know what to do about that. And so she just said, stay away from him. Well, he would pick her lock of her door and still dominate on her, okay? So at that point, she felt really unworthy, sad, and incredibly alone. And all she wanted to do was run away. Then we get to high school Jill. That's me. And she was an overachiever. She was a people pleaser. She was a perfectionist. She did everything with excellence to prove to herself, to others, to her father, that she was worthy of something, okay? I'm talking, this is ridiculous, y'all. So president of her class, captain of the cheer squad, secretary of the student council, art club, French club, the drug-free club. I worked a job, or she worked a job as well. And she dated the varsity basketball player, okay? She was awesome, right? So she was just trying to prove her worth. And then she goes to college and she becomes incredibly voiceless. She dated somebody who shamed her and then sexually took advantage of her. And she grew numb because it was her boyfriend, so she didn't see it as rape, but she saw it as, okay, this is just what I'm supposed to do, this is part of it, okay, so she numbed herself to endure it. And she lowered her expectations incredibly. She was in survival mode, trying to figure out who she was and what she wanted in life. So then straight out of college, young adult Jill gets married at 21, immediately out of college, okay? And to someone who actually really didn't respect her fully. And she actually told him not to propose days before, but he still did anyways in a pretty elaborate way to where she didn't have a voice, and so she didn't know how to say no. And she felt bad for him if she said no, so she said yes. So she cried before she went down the aisle. She threw up right after the ceremony. And she talked about divorce in the first month of marriage, but felt dedicated that she had made this vow before God, and she was going to do whatever she could, no matter what choices she had made at that point. She had made a vow, and she was going to do whatever she could to stick with it. And in the first year of marriage, she discovered deceit and betrayal, but stayed. And together they had a beautiful baby girl. My little girl, Kylie, she's 19, not so little anymore. And the marriage was mediocre, but she tolerated it and was hopeful that God would redeem the mess and was adamant to make it work for her daughter. And then she moves into a stage of self-denial. 5 years into the marriage, she fell into self-denial and self-abandonment to a whole nother level. Her husband at the time had had a tragic accident and was wheelchair-bound. God bless you, by the way. And had a lot of burn wounds. And the situation she was in was that she became a nurse, an at-home nurse, because he refused the medical care and the nurse that was provided. And he would stay in bed two-thirds of the day. He was upset anytime that she found joy outside of the home. And he refused to take medicine. And so it was a very dark next 4 years of her life. And this was the point where after 1 year after the accident, she wanted to die. She was sitting on the front porch, and she had this random vision of how she would do it, come in. She wasn't even thinking about it, but it came. And once you have that vision, it's scary. I don't tell my story often, and I have never told it in this fullness. So I've only given little bits and pieces, so yeah, it's a lot. I have hair in my mouth now. So anyway, she started taking antidepressants, and she continued with counseling and spent tens of thousands of dollars on marital counseling, trying to save their marriage and trying to help herself not want to die. And this is Jill and Kylie right after I separated from her dad and we divorced. And I took my power back in the sense that my daughter needed, her daughter, I should say, sorry, third person, Jill. Her daughter needed one healthy adult and needed somebody who was willing to do what was one of the hardest things of her life, and that was to leave a man who was disabled and deal with a lot of shame and guilt and a lot of judgment from a lot of people from the outside who didn't know about the years of betrayal and the lies that continued for the 10 years of marriage, okay? All they saw on the outside was wheelchair, and I had friends that left. So she found herself going through a stage of, feeling alone. And but she took her part-time photography business full-time, and she focused on healing for herself and her daughter. And that takes me to the last little section of my story. And so 4 years after the divorce, in 2016, she got remarried. And she felt hopeful. She knew it wouldn't be easy taking on 3 bonus daughters and blending families. But she was hopeful that maybe a healthier marriage would actually help restore and redeem what had been lost. But she quickly learned that trauma doesn't work that way for all people, and that everyone in the family did not have the same perspective. 1 out of the 3 girls that I took on as my bonus daughters rejected me and my daughter, and eventually her father. And felt threatened by the fact that we came in and we were taking Dad's attention as well. So that leads me to here, pain and grief and loss, because she completely left and removed herself from our home. Grief, pain, and loss showed up in such a big way that actually adult Jill, wanted to die a second time. And this time it was really scary, because she had already done it once, and she was like, oh no, we're back there again. And she collapsed. Her nervous system collapsed because she was stuck in fight, flight, or freeze, because this bonus daughter, whom she loved and was actually the emotional health advocate for her, she just felt so out of control, and she couldn't help her. And the bonus daughter was lashing out in a lot of angry and volatile ways, to the point where it was destroying Jill's marriage with her new husband. And she almost lost her second marriage because of it. But instead of losing the marriage, they lost the child. And Jill felt so much shame and guilt about that and did not want that over her head as being the reason for this kid not wanting to be in relationship with her father anymore. But there's a lot of mental health needs there, and we knew that there was a bigger story and that perhaps the story would have been the same whether I was in the picture or whether it was somebody else. So we worked hard to maintain our marriage. And the crazy thing about this is that Jill's trauma was activated from her childhood. Rejection and abandonment from dad. But she's sitting here watching somebody who has a loving, caring father who wants to be involved in her life, and she's rejecting it. And I'm like, what's happening? This is all I ever wanted in my life. So it was very hard on my brain to conceptualize what was happening. And then the second part of it was she was volatile, and it reminded me of my brother. I'm not doing good at the third person, but that's okay. I reminded her of just her brother, and middle school version of Jill came out. So all of this wasn't just the trauma of what was happening, it was the layers of trauma from the past that were evoked, the emotions that were evoked during those situations. And it felt too heavy and too big. So one night, though, she had a defining moment, and she had already been through 2 decades of talk therapy. I'm not kidding, 2 decades of talk therapy, and she's like, this is not working. This is not enough. And if I want to die a second time, something has to change. And so, because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, right? So she hired a trauma coach that functioned very differently. And through this experience, she gained self-acceptance, and she started to learn actual tools and skills to work through her emotions and to work through the trauma, to accept the parts of herself that she didn't like, even hated at times when she looked in the mirror. And she shifted from being a victim, and she took her power back again, and she became a co-creator of her life and tried to create a safe haven for the other 3 girls that were still in the home. And today, she is operating in wholeness. She does not operate from the void of what she didn't have in the past and from the loss. She is functioning from wholeness and healing, from a grounded, centered state. And despite the trauma, she's no longer defined by it. Because prior to pretty much the first 40 years of her life, she lived looking at the past as though she was unworthy. She wasn't worthy of anything good. Everything bad happens. She was waiting for the next shoe to fall, and just the next bad thing. And she doesn't live that way anymore, which is amazing. She's grounded in self-trust, and she embodies joy and peace despite the chaos that still continues in her blended family situation. And just around her, she has peace within her, and she is safe within herself for the first time ever. I did it. Whew. Whew, now it's cake. I just had to get through that. It's a lot, am I right? Yeah. It's a lot. And a lot of you have a lot of stories with a lot of stuff too. And maybe.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. Yeah, you're welcome. So here's some truths I want you to receive today. You are not broken. You are not anxious. You are not depressed. You feel these things, but they are not you. So I want you to change your language about these things. When you say, I'm anxious, I'm really anxious, change it to I feel anxious. You are not the anxiety. You just feel it, okay? You don't have to feel shame and guilt for your human stress response, okay, which we're going to talk about today. It's an automatic survival response all humans go through, okay? You are the key to your healing and wholeness. Your willingness to engage in the mess and be present for yourself is all it takes. You have to feel it to heal it. I'm not sure if you've heard that before, but all of it. We have to allow emotions to exist and accept them and not be at war with them and not be mad at ourselves for feeling them, because we were created to have a bajillion emotions in the world. Okay, if you feel stuck, it's because you're avoiding, resisting, or denying parts of yourself out of fear. Mic drop, let's say that again. If you feel stuck in any sort of way in your life right now, it's because you're avoiding, resisting, or denying parts of yourself out of fear of it being too much or not being able to handle it. And it's real. I felt it. I've been there. But messy emotions don't have to overtake you anymore. There's hope. You can learn skills and strategies to actually move through it differently. How many of you were taught how to move through emotions when you were younger? If anybody raises their hand, it would be a miracle. That's a miracle, right? If you look around the room, two people raise their hands, okay? Most generations prior to mine were not equipped. They didn't know what they didn't know. They didn't mean fault or harm or anything like that to anybody else. But, it's a skill. That's what I want you to know. I want you to walk away today knowing that this is a skill and it is totally learnable, okay? And it's actually easy. It's so much easier than what it feels. The resistance and the dance that we have with ourselves inside is actually so much bigger and harder and worse, and it causes more negative consequences in our life than actually feeling the emotions and being present with the emotions without judging them, okay? What I've learned through my journey is that you can't always think your way to peace. Sometimes you have to show your body it's safe to experience it, because your body doesn't feel safe after distressing things happen, after traumatic experiences happen. You begin to disassociate from even yourself and from others, but from your body. So your brain and your body, like for me, the way I like to say it is that my brain and my body were working at war within each other because my body still felt so much alarm. 20 years of talk therapy, and I'm like, I'm trying to get there. It's not that I'm not trying. I was trying. But my body was like, oh, hell no, girl. I ain't going there. That's unsafe. I don't like this. And it was resistant. So part of my coaching incorporates these 4 tangible skills. These are the 4 pieces that I needed, okay? Yes, brain retraining is a part of talk therapy, but it's also about inviting new experiences for the brain, okay? And having a growth mindset and expanding your perspective, okay? And then somatic connection is one of my big things, my big loves, because somatic just comes from the word soma in Greek, which means body, okay? So I am helping people to come to a space of body connection. And I am wanting women to actually feel the sensations of their body, which we don't always slow down enough to feel and be present with our true self, okay? We release stress and tension and trauma somatically, which means we don't always have to talk heavily through all of the traumatic experiences to release it from the body, which is amazing. And it's a journey of self-connection that builds self-trust, okay? The other aspect is parts work and inner child healing. And so inner child healing, maybe some of you have heard, parts work is a little bit bigger because it's not just talking about just the inner child exists, it's all the parts of you, okay? And it's learning to value all of these parts of you that feel a lot of different ways. So these parts that are inside of you are like at tug of war with each other. How many of you have felt like you've been at tug of war within yourself? It's kind of like that whole analogy of like the angel on one side, the devil on the other side. You have the 2 voices. Really, genuinely, these are just parts of yourself that are kind of in conflict with each other. And you want to do this, but you also feel this, and you feel duality of emotions at the same time. And it's human, and it's normal. You're not crazy. But what parts work does, it also helps you create safety for these resistant, scared, and hurting parts to actually move through and make breakthroughs in your life. This is where true transformation really takes place. This is the meat and potatoes of my one-to-one coaching. Because somatic connection stuff you can get in lots of different ways in lots of different places. I integrate it into everything I do, but I'm just saying, you can go do a yoga class, you can do breath work, you can do a lot of different somatic things. But this is one of the things that I feel really passionate about including because it's what really helped me transform my life. But it helps you to become the reparenting, like the new parent for yourself in any of the ways that your core needs didn't get met. And I'm fully aware that my daughter and my bonus daughters, I have not fully met all of their core needs. At some point in time, I didn't even know some of their needs because they didn't verbalize it, right? Just like my parents didn't know all of my needs because I didn't verbalize it. So we learn to really come in towards ourselves with self-compassion, with curiosity, with kindness. And we meet those needs, whatever needs. Instead of waiting for a man to meet them or a friend or any other person, we begin to actually meet the core needs inside of us, ourselves. And this is how we take our power back. And of course, nervous system regulation and rewiring. It's just part of what I do because it is what helps to soothe the body alarm. It eases distress. But we're also talking about creating a new stress response. We're interrupting whatever stress response has been taking place and creating a new response to help you increase capacity to deal with hard things and to have more emotional resilience, okay? So this is what I'm all about, okay? Let's just define what emotional resilience is for a second. It's the ability to adapt to stressful or unexpected situations and cope through them. And I will share with you, if you don't mind me just looking at here. I do have some of these things are on this one sheet in here. And just a little pivot for a second while I'm down here. There is a little questionnaire if you feel so led to fill that out at the end. And then this other sheet that's here is free gifts for you that you can scan the QR code and hop in and take advantage of. And the other side has some products and courses and offerings, which I'm going to be giving away one of each for free today. So, for the raffle at the end. But just letting you know that these definitions are on that form. Stress is a state of mental or emotional strain resulting from adverse circumstances. And it's the inability to recover to normal functioning. So I create a little acronym. I'm not going to read it all to you. It's on your paper, but you can take a look at it. But the goal is to transform the relationship that we have with ourselves and increase emotional awareness. And I love the lotus flower, and it's why it's part of my logo and my branding. It's because, you know, if you find me on Instagram or Facebook, my platform is Dancing in the Mess. And the lotus flower dances in the mess, y'all. It is like birthed from the muddy, dark pit at the bottom of the ponds, okay? And it seeks the light. It's just seeking the light constantly. And it comes up and it has this beautiful bloom, but it needs the darkness. It needs the fertilization of what happens in that muddy, murky soil, okay? And I believe we're like that too. Okay, so let's talk about what trauma is, because I'm guessing a lot of people think that trauma is a big event. How many of you would be vulnerable enough and willing to say you've had some sort of trauma in your life? I'm just curious. Yay! Not yay that you had the trauma, but yay that you have the awareness that you have had some, because, and thankfully this information is becoming more known and more prominent, but trauma is what lives within you after a circumstance. It is not the event that happened. You and I could both go through the exact same experience and it not be traumatic for me, but it be very traumatic for you. This is why we can't judge other people's stories or their own journey and say, well, how is that traumatic? So little. Well, what really happened was that she was triggered to feel an emotion of something that happened in the past. And there's a chain link to all of these emotions. Emotions create chains. And sometimes the chains are really heavy and hard to break because they're thickly ingrained inside of us as a trauma response. But it's the imprint on your mind and body, and you can even see it as an injury to your nervous system. And let's just pause for a second and describe what your nervous system is, okay? So your nervous system is really basically the communication between your brain and your body, okay? So your nervous system is just nerves and cells that are communicating with each other constantly. Okay, so trauma can be something that's too much for too long of a period or too little for too long. So neglect is trauma, right? Anything that's stress on your brain and body is trauma. Okay, it's a trauma to your body. Think of it that way. It is a trauma to your body. A threat to your safety or belonging or personal power can be traumatic. Lack of resources and support to meet your core needs, like doing it alone, is traumatic to the brain and the body, okay? So how does it affect your brain and your body? Well, we have less capacity to function well. The prefrontal cortex of your brain shuts down, which means that part of your brain is actually where you organize thoughts. And so when you are stressed and all these stress hormones are flooding through your body, your prefrontal cortex goes bloop, and it shuts off. So you can't think clearly. Makes sense, right? Why we feel how we feel during stressful things. We enter a state of survival and self-protection. So fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, if you've heard of those. Self-protection with your brain and body, they work really, really hard for you to keep you safe from more harm, okay? Sometimes too safe. Sometimes your brain is working against you because of fear of more harm and more danger. And so sometimes there's not even a threat really happening in real time, but the body is sensing it is. And it's hyper-vigilant, ready to protect you, ready to defend. Your perceptions, thoughts, behaviors, and interactions with yourself and others change because of the beliefs and stories that you created during those moments of distress, okay? And then what happens? Symptoms emerge. So your body and brain lose capacity to function fully, and it's this domino effect: chronic fatigue, autoimmune disorders, chronic pain, illness, anxiety, depression, digestive problems, acid reflux, shallow breathing. One of the things that I didn't say in my story that I just realized, it was on my notes, and I got a little flustered in that moment when I was talking about my second moment of really intense trauma. The picture of me had an ice pack. The catalyst for me actually making change in my life, while I'd like to say I wanted to fight for myself, and I did, was the fact I had chronic neck pain. Like debilitating. Like to the point where I couldn't do photography some days, to where I had to lay on the couch, ice, heat, take extra meds, go to the doctor, got diagnosed with PTSD, recognizing all of my neck pain was actually trauma. I tried, and I'm telling you, I spent thousands of dollars. Chiropractor, physical therapist, massage, cupping, acupuncture, all of the things, and none of it would actually take away my chronic pain until I learned emotional regulation and learned how to be with the emotions and help them to not feel and be as powerful and take over me. So that was a key part that I missed that I wanted to explain. That's what drove me really to be like, okay, enough's enough. Enough's enough. I'm done hurting myself here. Okay, so I want you to take out the back side of this sheet has a somatic distress checklist. And the emotional self-awareness guide that I have on my freebie list, it has a longer, more intense version of it. But I want you to just pause for a second, and I want to help you increase your self-awareness because it leads to emotional resilience. Just run down this list, if you will, kind of quickly. Try not to overthink it, ladies. We like to overthink things. 0 means you never feel this way. 1 means you rarely feel this way. 2 means sometimes. 3 means often. 4 means always. Be honest with yourself. You're not turning it in for a grade. Be honest with yourself. Just go down the list and circle, if you will, a 3 or a 4. If you need a pen, raise your hand and we'll get a pen to you. I just want you to notice, too, as you're doing that, how many 3s and 4s you have. Just take notice of it. Reflect on what that means for you in your life. This is just a short version. I actually have a 4-page one that's included in that emotional self-awareness guide that's in the freebie list that goes in a little deeper. And I want you to go ahead and grab the emotion wheel that is on your table. And I do have more. So if you want a bigger one, did you not go in? Thank you. Yeah. You want a big one or a small one?
I'll probably need a big one.
Yep. I have a couple bigger ones and I have a couple smaller ones if you want to swap it out at the end. These are a gift to you to take today. This is one of my first tools that I give to all of my clients because all of us use the same basic language. I feel sad, I feel stressed, I feel angry, I feel happy. Like, and we stop about there, okay? We have just a few key words that we use. When we actually look deeper and can put words to what we're feeling, it's incredibly enlightening, and it helps us to have a little more curiosity too. So what I want you to do is just look at this emotion wheel right now. And as you just kind of looked at this distress checklist and you're like, oh crap, I have some 3s and some 4s on here, I want you just to see if you can find the word or words that actually describe how that feels inside of you right now. Really having to face it, really having to interact with that messy reality of our humanity. And just notice how you feel about that awareness that you just gotten. And this, I think most of them are stickers. Some of them are maybe not, but I think most of them are stickers. So you're welcome to take this emotion wheel if you'd like to use it, and keep it for your everyday life. And I tell my clients actually to put it on their home screen of their phone for a while. And actually just check in with yourself. How am I feeling? Good, bad? What level of good or bad, you know? Okay. We're going to move on to, I just want to explain to you what your body is doing so that you feel a lot less shame for what you're experiencing, for these stress responses, for the distress checklist that you just went through and you're like, oh yeah, I struggle. I feel my body is experiencing a lot of distress and disharmony inside of it. And I want you to know that you have a human body with a human response, and you don't have to feel shame and guilt for anything you just wrote on that list, okay? A lot of us feel badly about ourselves for having struggles with anxiety or struggles with depression, or having chronic pain or whatever it is that we're experiencing in our body that's signaling. It's really our body is signaling to us, hey, wake up, there's a fire. There's a fire inside. Do you see the fire? And when you're not seeing the fire, when you don't have the self-awareness, your body does what my body did with chronic pain, and it's like, I'm gonna make you see it, girl. I'm gonna make you not be able to function until you actually see it and take action. So, our body is working for us though, it's not against us. Okay, so, the bottom level is where we all want to live. We want to live in the safe and connected, regulated social connection system. This is the system, maybe you've heard of rest and digest. We're open, we're present, we're resilient, we're even joyful at times. We're in flow. This is the ventral vagal state, okay? We're safe, we're at peace, okay? We are not meant to live here 100% of the time. It's not humanly possible. So let's just have that acceptance right now. That though we want to come back to this place, this is home base when we feel good, that our human body is also activating and deactivating all day long like the waves of the ocean, okay? You're human, it's part of it. It just is. So something happens that triggers activation inside of you, and you go into yellow, which is kind of like a stoplight. This is my most displeasing slide of my whole show because it's like, red and yellow and red, but I did it intentionally because it's like a stoplight. Green is when we're in flow. Yellow, we're doing that dance of fight or flight. What do I do next? I don't know what to do. We're defensive, we're anxious, we're hyper alert, we're on edge. This is the sympathetic state. And this is fight or flight. This is when the adrenaline system kicks in and all of the hormones are rushing through the body, okay? And so this is where anger lives, irritation, frustration. And when our body is stuck in that state for too long, it moves up into the red zone and it collapses because it's exhausted. It's tired of fighting. Your body only has so much capacity and resources. And when you have exhausted all of them, it shuts down on you. And this is human. And this can happen in micro ways all throughout your day. Up and down, up and down. The goal is to not stay stuck in one of those spots. The goal isn't to not ever feel the fight or flight in the hyperarousal or the hypoarousal of freeze in the dorsal vagal state. And it is not to never feel those things because that would be inhuman, and we're humans, okay? But it's to flow in between them and always to be able to come back home to green, having tools and skills to come back to the green. Okay? Dysregulation is the inability to regulate or control one's emotional responses. Both of these categories up here are considered dysregulation states. Okay? Okay. Is that helpful to see it in that way? Do you feel a little less shame for what you experience in a given day? Yeah? Okay, good. I want to take you through a little somatic experience today, but I want to teach you what somatic means first, because I told you it meant body, but it's a little deeper. It's not just breath work. It's not just moving your body. It actually can be, what I include is somatic connection, which is a little deeper, where the body is allowed to express whatever it's holding. Somatics help us to release whatever stuck energy is trapped inside of the body, and it helps to turn off that threat alarm. The language of your body is sensations, not words, which is why talk therapy doesn't work for everybody, which is why we have to go to the body and to the sensations and have a dual approach of the brain retraining and the somatic experiences. It increases capacity for your body to feel sensation and emotions without overwhelm. It's a gentle, loving approach. When your body has capacity to self-regulate, it restores a sense of inner safety and balance, which leads to peace and joy. And so you can see on the side just some of the benefits of it, and you can see some examples of it. But what I want to invite you to do, if you are willing, for just a moment, if you feel comfortable, I'm going to guide you, because I want you to have an experience, okay? Because I'm a teacher. Deep inside of me, I want you to have an experience. So if everybody could just kind of take a sigh breath with me and just go, ah. And I just want you to shake it off, because I just gave you a lot of information. Just kind of shake it out. Let yourself loosen up just for a moment. Let your body know, okay, I can relax. That was a lot of intense information about trauma, but we're going to the safe zones. We're just kind of letting the body know it's okay and it's safe. And I want you just to place a hand on your heart and close your eyes with me. If you feel safe and if you feel comfortable. And if at any point that I lead you in this, that you don't feel comfortable, that it feels like too much to you, I invite you to respect and honor the knowing of your body. I want you to respect yourself, and if you want to keep your eyes open, keep your eyes open. But I want to invite you to close your eyes, because we live so much from the head, and I want to help you to go to your body today for just a moment, just even a few minutes. And all I want you to do for this moment is to feel your heartbeat. See if you can feel it. And notice, is it slow? Is it fast? And put your hand on your belly as well if you feel comfortable. And I want you just to feel your breath going in and out. I don't want you to force anything. All I want you to do is notice it. See if your belly expands as you breathe. And I want you to give yourself permission in this moment to let your breath flow. I want you to try and inhale through your nose, taking in a slower inhale and holding it at the top. And we're going to exhale real slow, almost like you're blowing on soup. So go ahead and exhale real slowly. Your breath is your greatest resource, and it guides you and helps you to connect with your body and to connect to safety in this moment. So go ahead and do another breath. In through your nose and out through your mouth. Real slow, slower than you normally would. And I want you just to smile and thank your body inwardly. Just thank your body for all that it does for you, all that it has held you up through every experience you've ever had. It has been present for you. It has brought you to this moment today. And that's pretty amazing, because I know I'm not the only one who's been through hard stuff. I know that you've been through traumatic experiences too. Your body's been through a lot. Your body is your friend. So let's turn towards it for just a moment. I want you to notice if you can find a spot in your body that feels neutral, that you have neutral sensations, where it doesn't feel pain or tense, just kind of feels okay. And maybe that's foreign for you, and that's okay if it takes just a little bit of extra time for you. Maybe that's in your fingers or your toes. Maybe it's in your knees. It can be anywhere. Just one little spot. And then I want you to find a spot in your body where you feel tension and constriction. Maybe pain even. And I want you just to notice it. And be with it. And what I want you to do in that spot is I want you just to send some love and compassion to this place of your body. Because this place of your body, it is holding emotion. It is holding something that's stuck and trapped inside there. And all I want you to do is to think of a color of light that is soothing. And as you breathe, I want you to visualize breathing light into this space in your body and fill it with love and compassion and kindness and maybe even a little curiosity as to what it's holding. This is how we repair the relationship with ourselves, by leaning into what is actually present within us. Allowing ourselves to slow down our monkey mind, our overthinking, our over self-protecting mechanisms, this trauma response, and allowing ourselves to actually connect with what is present. And I want you just to give yourself a big hug in this moment. So everybody just pause and give yourself a big hug. I just want you to kind of reclaim in this moment that you are for you. You are for yourself. And let that feel good. And then I want to invite you to stand up and do something that is my absolute favorite thing. So if you would be willing, stand up with me for just a second. Girls, we're gonna dance. This is Megan Trainor, Better When I'm Dancing. Don't care about who's behind you, just dance with me. You know how to move, there's no right or wrong way to move. If you don't know what to do, just follow me, mirror me, I don't care. Mirror your neighbor. If you feel like mirroring me, you can do something silly. Allow, play, and joy to come in. This is a great way to change your nervous system state. It's my favorite. Better when I'm dancing. Doesn't that feel good? And that's all I have for you today.